information, Mel's best available. Presented by Courtyard by Marriott.
And we see a couple of interesting guys. Tez Johnson, the size is going to be the factor against Tez Johnson, but I'll tell you what a playmaker he was. You go to Logan Brown. I know, Lou, you're surprised he's still there with his ability. And look at Quinn Ewers and Jake Majors, center and the quarterback at Texas, still on the board at this point. Quinn Ewers, we had talked, powering throws, muscling throws, finessing too many throws. Does he have that ability to hit those tight windows? There were receivers, let's face it, he had good receivers to throw to. He had Gunnar Helm at tight end. He had skilled talent all over the place. So for Quinn Ewers, are you a product of the talent and all the ability they had around them, or can you transition to the NFL, Lou? What's your take on Quinn Ewers?
You know, I just look personally, I just didn't see it. I just didn't see, and I'm not someone who gets too caught up in horsepower in someone's arm, right? Because I think it's about passing the football, not throwing the football. But it just never seemed like he was able to really just put any juice on it. The play style just seems so lethargic, and it just seems so like in the NFL that they would eat him up. If it wasn't open for him immediately, it reminded me a little bit of it was like little Chad Pennington-esque, but Chad was a very effective quarterback. Quinn just didn't do it for me. I just don't know what the projection really looks like for him. I don't ever see him being a starter in the NFL, quite honestly. And I'm not surprised to see him sitting here still without a team.
He was tough to evaluate, too, because he was never healthy.
Yeah.
So you would see games. There were throws in the Michigan game where you would say, oh, my gosh, okay, that was the guy that was the number one quarterback in his high school recruiting class. There were throws against Alabama the year before that where you would say, dang, there it is. He's got it figured out. But then he would get hurt. Or then he would have games like the Oklahoma game where he would throw a game away with a bad decision. So, I mean, Quinn Ewers is a Texas legend for getting them back to the college football, top tier, back-to-back college football semifinal performances. But I do think the injuries in each season held him back from ever being what he could have been.
And you wonder if the injuries, Mel, were the reason sometimes you didn't see him rip those throws, because some of them were core oblique type injuries at times over his career.
So that point, Reese and Matt, Lou, when you watched him against in Tuscaloosa against Alabama 2 years ago, Nick Saban's defense had no answer. Well, I mean, he put, 30-plus points on the board in that game. He was throwing accurate strikes to various spots of the field. He looked like a future early-round prospect.
And the year before, also against Alabama, before Dallas Turner knocked him out of the game, he was spinning bean that day, too.
Right. You wonder if we might see the trickle-down of, what do they want to call it, a fall, or the reality here for Quinn Ewers at the collegiate level. We've all talked about this deep quarterback class for 2026. I'm trying to close the books on 2025 before I think too much about it, but these quarterbacks who might be on the fringes of where am I going to make it into the NFL draft? There's so much opportunity via the transfer portal and so much money via NIL that these players may end up taking that extra final year before they enter the NFL.
And I respect that he said, I don't want to transfer. I've done that once. He's a Texas kid. He wanted to be remembered as a Texas quarterback instead of going to Notre Dame or going to Miami and taking the money, which he did once. He went from high school to Ohio State in order to take the payout when Texas wasn't allowing high school quarterbacks or players to get paid. So I do respect that decision of saying, this is where I'm from, this is where I wanted to be. I want to go out as a legend from that school instead of a Notre Dame player for one season.
The other thing, too, I think you ought to give him some credit because he changed his body. For a while it was the dyed mullet. There were a lot of things circulating around. In his last couple of years at Texas, he kind of changed the way he approached the way he went about his business in a lot of ways.
And you know what? It looks, sometimes it sounds like you're being disrespectful when you just don't see it in a player. And you're not really. You're just trying to objectively be honest about it. And look, the draft speaks for itself, right? This is a valuation exercise, and the NFL is valuing in the way, in terms of them saying the same thing. We just don't see it right now. That's what we're not seeing, and hopefully he can find a place to lock on.
Let's go down to the stage now, and the Miami Dolphins making a selection.
I don't hear nobody. Where y'all at? I said, where y'all at? I want to give a special shout out to Forgive Code, Verizon, and the NFL. Welcome to the wonderful home of Green Bay, right? I just want to hear one quick chant. Go, Pack, go! Go, Pack, go! Yeah! All right, here we go. With the 231st pick in the 2025 NFL Draft, the Miami Dolphins select Quinn Ewers, QB, Texas.
sometimes serendipity works out with our discussion. One Dolphins fan not thrilled about it, but maybe, look, get another arm in there. No, they brought Zach Wilson in also to back up Tua. They try to get him healthy. You see what Quinn did at Texas, 27 straight games with a touchdown pass. He had some huge moments, got them to the SEC championship game, first year in the conference, led him to a Big 12 championship, back-to-back playoffs, throwing to the end zone, a chance to go to the national championship game after the 23 season against Washington, ended up losing that game by a point. So for all of he's maligned at times, a lot of accomplishments, too, for him.
He really did. You got to give him credit for being just tough and, again, gutting it out when he was not 100%. He had some good games this year. Go back to the early season game against Michigan. At Michigan at the Big House. Completed 67% of his passes, 3 touchdowns, no picks. SEC championship game and his 3 playoff games thereafter, 7 touchdowns and 5 picks. So some inconsistency there in big spots. He has the touch. He can throw on the move, off platform. Toughness this season, as I said, to play through injury. Decision-making under pressure at times a little questionable. And like I say, I want to see him throw that 99-mile-an-hour fastball once in a while. We didn't see it. We saw the touch. We saw some accuracy on those throws. I saw that Alabama game where he wowed me over, and I didn't see him build on that. Did the injuries play a factor? Maybe. Here he is rolling up against his body, throws a touchdown pass.
This isn't actually a very, very good fit for him, because what he's able to do is stand in the pocket and play on time and play in rhythm, and that's exactly what Mike McDaniels wants. He's going to tell you where to go with the ball, and he's going to give you speedy options to get there. To your point, Mel, we saw the highlight package there. Quinn Ewers has absolutely made throws where you say, yep, there it is. Like, that's the guy that can get it done. The key will be getting the coaching, getting the development so that he can make that happen consistently. I know he's not happy right now, but the dust is going to settle, and he's going to be, you know what, Miami is a really good landing spot for him.
Hey, you know what? Look, they ought to celebrate this. I understand. Number 1 player coming out of high school, played at Texas, expect to go top of the draft. This guy's got some game here. If he can get healthy and play,
absolutely.
It's an opportunity, man. I hope he takes advantage of it. It's very similar in a lot of ways. I know it wasn't as publicized, but it's like Shedeur Sanders.
Yes.
I mean, stuff happens.
Yep.
Now you deal with it. Take advantage of this opportunity. Eh? He's got talent. He's a talented guy.
Well, it could be a chip, too, Reese. It could definitely be a chip. Take it, make him pay.
Absolutely. Yeah, we talked about that earlier. We got past the Brady pick and the whole thing. I mean, they did a whole documentary about that.
Yep.
You know,
The Brady 6.
Yeah, no, so here we go. So congratulations to Quinn Ewers. Glad to see that. Headed to Miami to try to make that squad. Mike McDaniel, that creative offense, and Ewers might fit in nicely, backing up to a Tagovailoa as he starts his NFL career. We'll get you caught up on all of the picks here in the final round of the NFL draft from Green Bay. Get a look at Texas quarterback Quinn Ewers, who's off the Dolphins.
Xin chào tất cả các bạn đã quay trở lại kênh YouTube của mình. Mình hiện làm người làm video sáng tạo nội dung trên nền tảng YouTube nha các bạn. Mình sẽ sáng tạo những video hướng dẫn cắt dán cho các bạn này. Đây là những sản phẩm của mình đã cắt dán rất nhiều những sản phẩm của mình đây này. Mình sẽ giới thiệu cho các bạn cách mình tạo ra những video viral của mình nha. Đấy. Để tạo được những video đẹp hay chất lượng cho các bạn xem thì mình sẽ cần những dụng cụ như sau. Mình sẽ giới thiệu cho các bạn biết nha. Đây là giấy thủ công màu này các bạn này, rất nhiều màu sắc này. Đấy. Nó có giấy màu vàng này, giấy màu